Today, I just wanted to give you a quick overview of the shipping process. So shipping from China to Amazon FBA. I know it can seem really overwhelming and it's kind of confusing. So this is just going to be the overview and tutorial. I go into more depth on each step of the process in other videos. Okay, so this is just kind of a summary. So let's go ahead and get into it. So shipping overview. First, you're going to have your items, your products, produced by your supplier. Really straightforward. So they're produced, and either during production or this could be after production, right? Or both. You hire an inspection company, which I highly recommend. This is a third-party company, so it's a company outside, that is not affiliated with the supplier at all. And this inspection company will come and make sure that all the products are up to standard, right? And if there's anything wrong, and this also includes if you get the right inspection service, and also I've included a link to the inspection service that I use below, which I really like. It's and I highly recommend it. But yeah, they'll tell you not just about the products, but also as the factory as a whole. If there's anything shady going on or anything, they inspect hundreds and hundreds of factories, right? So they're very knowledgeable and super helpful and give you a detailed list of any potential things that are wrong or anything like that, right? And it's really great to do. So either during production or after, right? You just want to make sure everything's good to go before you ship all these products to Amazon. And yeah, so once that happens and your products are ready, they're good to go. Unless you're doing a small order. So if you have an order that's like 100 to 250 kilograms or more, especially if it's over 250 kilograms, I'd recommend using a freight forwarder. Okay, it's ultimately going to save you money, and freight forwarders, if you get the right freight forwarder, are great in terms of dealing with the entire process of getting products from China to Amazon FBA warehouse, right? The entire process all the way through. So I would recommend that. But if it's a smaller order, you can kind of do this through your supplier or have them kind of manage everything with DDP shipping. But in most cases, right, I would say in most cases you'd be using a freight forwarder. So after everything's inspected, you would use partner with a freight forwarder, and I'll also include a link to my freight forwarder as well. If any of you guys know of any great freight forwarders or inspection companies, be sure to comment those below and help the community out. So yeah, freight forwarder, they will either pick up the products from your warehouse or your supplier will send them to the forwarder. And again, you can kind of negotiate with your supplier and say, in part of your negotiation, this could be part of the process, is that would you be able to drop off our initial test order with the freight forwarder, right? Can we negotiate that out? Or the freight forwarder can come and pick this up, and they'll include that kind of in their fees. So yeah, production inspection company, freight forwarder picks it up. Then they will, depending on what you want, they will ship it to the United States either by plane or by sea. Okay, sea shipping takes a lot longer than air shipping, and it is cheaper. It's actually a lot cheaper, right? Air shipping is much faster and more expensive. Really straightforward. Air shipping, it really depends. But it takes a matter of days, where sea shipping can take even like up to a month or even a little bit more, like up to even 45 days or potentially longer if things go wrong. And there have been some like horror stories of containers just getting tipping over or getting filled with water right from the water coming into the boat and things like that. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. I prefer air shipping. What I'm starting to do now, and this is what great if you use a freight forwarder, this is something to keep in mind, and this is why I'm kind of going off tangent, because it's important. If you're using a freight forwarder and ordering your first products, why not order, even if it's like 70%, right? Or even half your products, ship them by air to where you get them into Amazon's warehouse. They start selling, and as they start selling and as they start, selling more and more and more, and you start starting to run out of inventory, right? You have the other half being shipped by sea, and you have enough inventory to last you until your sea shipment comes in, and then to fill the remaining. That's a way to kind of cut some costs. That's what I've been doing a lot lately. It's been really great. It's helped me reduce costs a lot. But you have to make sure you plan out correctly. If this is your first order, in general, I recommend air, just to get up and running as soon as possible. And it really helps your cash flow if you really reduce your lead time. It really helps you out. Okay. But again, consider doing both. You could do even just see if it makes sense for you. But I either do only air or a mix of both. And a mix of both kind of helps me save some money, but you need to make sure you plan it out correctly. And again, freight forwarder is great to help you along the process. Okay. So yeah, so ships either by air or by sea to the United States. It doesn't go directly to Amazon's warehouse. So first it arrives in customs, and it is potentially inspected, right? And the United States government is not clear on how they inspect, right? It's not like, oh, we just randomly select, or maybe there's certain criteria. They kind of keep that closed. But you can either do what is either going to happen if your products do get inspected thoroughly, right? There's either going to be like an X-ray search, or it's kind of like some sort of X-ray where it's not like a manually going in and a human being going in. It's kind of like scanned, and that can take that can delay things like 48. What I found up to like 48 hours or so. And with a human actually checking your products, that can take several days or even weeks, potentially, that I've heard from other sellers, right? And it's actually happened to one of our products. It delayed by, I think it was about a week. It delayed. So just something to kind of keep in mind and account for is that your products could be inspected by either a human being or by a machine. Machines faster, human beings longer. Something to keep in mind, although the majority of my shipments have not had to be, had to have that detailed inspection. But they pass through customs. Once they're cleared, they get through customs. Then they are sent directly to Amazon's FBA warehouse, if that's where you're sending them, which is what I would recommend and what I would do. It could be, sending them to your house and then you inspect them and then send them to the FBA. I know some sellers do that, but I'd recommend just sending it to Amazon. So yeah, from there, then it goes kind of directly, ultimately, to Amazon, and that's kind of how the process works, right? So from your products being produced all the way to actually getting sent into Amazon. And yeah, again, this is an overview. I'm not going to go into super depth on how to make sure everything works smoothly, but especially if you're using a freight forwarder, that really helps to make sure the entire process runs smoothly. And if you have a bigger order, it's better to go with a freight forwarder than than FedEx or DHL, right? And I've talked to a lot of freight forwarders, and there's especially one guy in particular I was speaking with. For them, they say it is so easy shipping products because they've done this 1,000 times. It's just, to us as new sellers, right, it's very overwhelming. But for someone who has experience, it is it's very simple. So don't get over. I know that, and part of the reason I'm making this video is a lot of people get, especially new sellers, get overwhelmed by this process. I know I did. Like, we just invested a few $1,000s into these products, and they're being shipped by sea, to get to, and I'm not seeing it ever. Like, it can be kind of nerve-wracking a little bit. Like how does this all work? It's almost like magic. But yeah, that's why, making sure you do your due diligence, your research. But again, if you do your research and do all the steps correctly, right, it's not necessarily a hard process. It's just kind of a lot of little steps, and make sure that those all get done and you're good to go. Okay. And that's, again, why I like to rely on experts where I'm weak. So yeah, that's the overview. If you have questions, let me know. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. That would help me out a ton. And check out the description section below. I hope this was helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in future videos.